Hi, welcome to Catholic Pour Over. I'm Maria Wankata.
And I'm Father Damian Ferentz.
Today we're going to talk about what's percolating in the land and beyond, and today's topic is Superman.
Superman, because last summer, a whole production team landed in Cleveland, and for a few months, really, they filmed many of the scenes for this new film, Superman. Downtown Cleveland turned into Metropolis.
Yeah.
Did you get down to see any of that or no?
Yeah, like certain lanes were closed off driving in downtown. I worked downtown. Like there were lane closures. You couldn't get around. Traffic getting in and out of town was a hassle.
I live on Superior Avenue at the cathedral, as you know, and the next two blocks over to the west were shut down for a good part of the summer because the old arcade was Metropolis headquarters, and then My Daily Planet was there. A lot of the street signs were covered with new street names. They were part of the Metropolis. They used Progressive Field for a big scene, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you can see, like, they released the trailer last week, and, like, just seeing it, you can see, like, pick out certain parts of Cleveland, like the gap. You said it was the arcade?
The old arcade with all the glass ceiling above.
Yeah.
There's a good kiss scene in there, I think. The Superman comes with whoever his girlfriend or wife is. I don't know, but something.
Yeah, that's in the trailer, and you can see that. So that's always like, you have hometown pride when you see that.
Yeah, and Superman was actually created in Cleveland. So this is very cool that in 2025 we're coming back to it. So today, what we're going to pour over is, what do we make of remakes? And what do we make of sequels? And what's going on there that's really good and to be celebrated? And are there some dangers there that we need to avoid? And how does this all play out? So what do you think?
Well, so I'm of the generation where, like, a lot of the remakes or sequels you see now are movies that were released, like, when I was growing up. Like, one of my favorite movies and memories I have is going as a family when The Lion King was in theaters. Was it
94?
I think it was 1994.
That was when I graduated high school.
It was a double feature of Angels in the Outfield and then The Lion King.
Okay.
And I remember going with my family, watching the whole thing, and then you see now the Elton John soundtrack. Like, my sisters and I would sing all the songs, and Lion King has done a live action remake. There's all the sequels of Simba's Pride and Simba and Nala have a baby lion. Everything, they've been able to brand that movie to death, basically. But there's so many more like that too coming out.
So good or bad, branding these things and marketing them. So obviously people want to make money and they have to have jobs. And so, hey, if this worked this time, let's run it out again and see how that goes. Sometimes the sequels are good. Sometimes they're not. I know I thought Terminator 2, which came out, I think, in 1991 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, was better than the original Terminator. And I was a freshman or sophomore in high school when that came out. I remember, too, because Guns N' Roses had a song, You Could Be Mine, that was on there. I was so excited because it wasn't on an album up until that point. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was awesome. And that was one of the first films where they used, I don't know if it was called CGI back then, but they made the guy look like he was made out of chrome and he could take on different shapes. It was wonderful. So I liked that.
Yeah. And the Marvel series, how many different Spider-Mans have there been? And who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Yeah, the Spider-Man with the guy who, what does he look like? I don't know. He came out maybe around 2001 or 2. And is it Kirsten Dunst is in that film?
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah. I liked it because at the end, now you may not see it this way, but as a celibate man, I see it this way. That at the end, he actually didn't choose the girl because if he did, he couldn't do all the heroic acts that he needed to do. Yeah. And I was in my last years of seminary that time, and I needed some support to say that celibacy is good because now it's good because of the spousal analogy and all that. I understand that now, but I also needed a little bit of push, come on, here's another reason. So anyway, I like that for that reason.
But I think, depending on your age and which actor you relate to the most, you'll have a favorite one. So I think in that way, it's good and it's useful, but it keeps generations involved in the story. For me, I've loved being able to share some of these movies that I grew up with my kids.
Yeah.
So there's the nostalgia factor, but also bringing them into like things that are a part of my life and my memories too.
Now, 20 years ago, I was 2 years a priest at that time, and Nacho Libre came out with Jack Black, which is one of my favorite all-time films. We need to do a Catholic pour-over episode just on Nacho Libre. It's so theologically rich. Even though at first the USCCB gave it an O for morally offensive, I think they would, if they looked at it again, they might see that it's probably A3 in its ratings. I don't even know if the USCCB does that anymore. But regardless, it's 20 years later. That film is not being remade, I don't think. However, our research team did put together things that are being remade. So Lilo and Stitch, live action remake of the 2002 film Mission Impossible, Karate Kid, How to Train Your Dragon, Jurassic Park, the one I'm really interested in, Happy Gilmore, which came out 1996 when I was a sophomore in college, is going to be a Happy Gilmore 2 this summer. And Adam Sandler's hilarious. Yeah. Freakier Friday, The Roses. So what is it about this? Is it that there's a comfortability, as one of our researchers said? Is it there's a bit of a nostalgia?
I think it's nostalgia. I think, one, we're creatures of habit. We like to go what we're familiar to. I mean, I know this, like, you know, at Mass, you always sit in the same spot. My husband and I work out together in the morning. We always pick the same stations in the studio, and he's upset if he doesn't get his station. And I think because there also are so many options out there and ways to consume movies now that you want to spend your money on what, you know, is not too risky, what you know you'll enjoy.
Yeah, because if you take a risk, you can get it wrong and be very disappointed. So when you go to a restaurant, are you likely to order the same thing at the same restaurant because you know it's what you like and it's good? Or?
I like to hear the specials, but unless it, like, really appeals to me, I don't want to risk having a bad meal, spending money on a bad meal. I'll go to what I know I like.
And that's probably true here with these films.
The experience is so important.
I already know this brand. I kind of know the characters. I know the storyline. Even if it's not as good as the first, at least I'm not wasting my time in this sort of thing. Yeah. So we like things that we're comfortable with, and whether that's food or whether that's film. Yeah, I think that's interesting.
Every fall, I will start rewatching Gilmore Girls on Netflix.
I've never seen it.
There's a whole Gilmore Girls fan community out there. Like, you look at my Facebook, it's just filled with people talking about Gilmore Girls. Yeah, and it's had a revival.
Tell me about it, because I don't know anything about it.
So I have a daughter who's 15 and a half, almost 16. She has watched the whole thing too. We are both Team Jess. And so people who know Gilmore Girls will get my reference right there.
Okay.
But it's a mother-daughter relationship. There's the dynamics of the grandparents in there. It talks about private school, but like just normal things that you go through in a daily life. And there's romantic interest, and coffee.
Is it a movie or is it a TV show?
It's a TV show that was on in the 90s, and it's on Netflix now, and it's 6 seasons. There's been a remake, A Year in the Life, that was only released to Netflix, I forget how many years ago, but people hate the remake, The Year in a Life, the extension, because different writers and stuff. So you can hurt a brand with a remake too.
Yeah. Well, that's different than Mean Girls, which I've never seen, but I've heard of.
Yeah.
Are they similar?
I mean, I guess people who like that would probably like Mean Girls too, but a little bit different.
Yeah. What do they call it when, like in The Office, they look to the camera when they're supposed to be talking, like you break the wall, you're not supposed to break the wall. Yeah. I'm going to break the wall. And Mary, what was that movie you told me I should watch that was based on a Jane Austen film? The one with all the different female characters.
Little Women?
Little Women. Greta Gerwig. But there were other Little Women films that were done before that. I only saw the one and I liked it. So I actually don't want to see any other ones because people have told me that one's the best one. It
could ruin it for you.
Yeah.
It's like the Rocky sequel. You have a favorite Rocky, right?
I only watched the Rocky stuff for the first time when I was in Rome, and I guess the first one was great, and then the fourth one, because it was like Russia and America. Yeah. Rocky was a pretty good guy, by the way.
But Rocky 5, people hate Rocky 5.
Oh,
and
why?
Then it didn't stick true to the true Rocky character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
And then the Creed has gone off of that with the
Oh, Apollo Creed.
Apollo Creed's son,
yeah.
and that Rocky train. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole franchise there, but it's the brand.
Yeah.
So from Sylvester Stallone.
Well, how about this one? One that when in researching for this show, A Star is Born, which I saw in 2018 with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. Awesome film. That was the fourth one. There was one in 1976. There was one in 1954 and 1951. So there's something about a good story.
Yeah.
Retelling it because it's worth listening to and it's worth understanding it, and because a good story will speak to your life, and the more particular the story is, the more universal grasp it has on people's heads and hearts. I think too.
I think it's really in the way it's done. So if it's being done in an artful way to preserve
The
maybe
form?
the genuineness of the story, the authenticity of it, versus it being done just to milk the brand or the story for a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Which, like, for example, you mentioned Happy Gilmore, that one is only being released to Netflix. So, meaning articles and stuff that our research team put together would show, like, that more or less is they're not expecting it to be like a big office smash, but low budget through Netflix, you can at least build up and build off the nostalgia, and the people that liked it will watch it just to see if, there's something they like that's still in it, but not expecting much from it.
Yeah,
no
so
expectations.
Blockbuster films are like best-selling books. They may have a lot of people watch them, but maybe the art isn't as great as an independent film, or an independent artist, or something that maybe not everyone's heard of and has a great brand. But a lot of times, I guess I use the analogy of like big box stores or franchise restaurants as opposed to the mom and pop restaurant or the independent coffee house that's making these things. To avoid the snobbery of going to these specialty shops, but also recognizing that there are some great filmmakers who don't have all the money and the big budgets, but are putting together good films and good art. And if no one ever takes the risk to go see one of these films or listen to this band or do this particular thing, try this coffee, then we're all going to be homogenized and doing the same thing. And our souls long for great art and beauty and truth that's presented by different artists and different filmmakers and different musicians,
Yeah, like, I mean, quality versus quantity. Are you willing to invest and pay for a better quality product, for something that will probably enrich your life a little bit more, or just staying on the same track and getting into a rhythm and not pushing and challenging yourself to be better? It's like taking care of yourself, taking care of mind, body, and spirit.
Yep. I'm thinking too, and maybe this is for a whole nother show, but the whole Disneyland thing.
Yeah.
That a lot of people like to go to Disneyland because they have control over everything in terms of, all right, here's my credit card and I'll have this experience. I get to visit China. I get to visit France. I get to visit Italy, all while being in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that certainly is different than going to China or going to France or going to Italy.
Yeah.
Those are different experiences. And so I think it's important to reflect as human beings on what it is that we're taking in and why it is that we're liking it. So I run this camp in the summer. It's an institute called Tole Lege for rising seniors. I hope your kids make it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we do during that week is we watch a film together. And usually it's a rated R film or a PG-13. All the films on the list are all films that Bishop Barron has already reviewed.
Okay.
So the content is good. Sometimes there's cussing or violence or something like this. But we get parents to sign off on it. And that night we gather in the Cask and Cross and we watch the film together. And then after the film's done, go take a bathroom break, come back in 5 minutes. And then we sit around and then we reflect theologically on the film. And for many of these young people, it's the first time they've thought about film in that way. Yeah. And then when that conversation's done, they're like, that was awesome. Like, you had such good insights and I never thought of that, or that's a good question, or yeah, I didn't recognize that about that character. And then I tell the kids, I'm like, look, when you watch films, this is exactly what you're asked to do as a Catholic. You don't watch these blindly just to veg out and be entertained. You're actually watching them with the eyes of faith to understand more deeply the human experience and to see how it affects your life and the lives of others. And that's part of the responsibility of being an intelligent Catholic.
Yeah. And I think like the trend we're getting into with these remakes, and we said the nostalgia, is you can watch it or have it on as background noise and not even think about what's going on. It's
right.
Maybe sometimes just to fill space. Or are you sitting and watching and, like you said, really thinking about what's going on and challenging yourself? I know when we watch movies late at night, if it is something that's like heavy or hardcore, like I can't turn my mind off after it.
Yeah. And that's it's a nice way of talking about attention. There's this great French Jewish who was almost Christian. She never got baptized because, well, there's a whole nother reason for that. Her name is Simone Weil. And one of her big theses was that attention is at the heart of love. And you'll pay attention to the things you love. And we do live in a world that is constantly trying to keep us distracted. But to pay close attention to another human being or to a film or to song lyrics, to do what we're doing here, poring over, analyzing some content for the sake of better understanding reality, what's going on, how this affects my life, how it affects the world. There's something that's difficult about that, but also deeply gratifying and meaningful about that.
Yeah, I really don't think I could add anything to that.
So why don't, as we wrap up, talk a little bit more about that mind, body, spirit business that you mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, so I think with the trend of these remakes and sequels and like dragging, I don't want to say, it can be dragging a brand out that you go with what's familiar, what you're comfortable with. But like with anything in life, you don't get good rewards and gains until you're uncomfortable. So like training for a marathon, you have to train months for it and you have to build up over time. If you want to have, you want to learn something new, you spend your time studying it, getting into books, listening, anything, going to courses. And the same thing with the faith life. You don't move in your relationship with God without spending time with him. And it's not a straight path. It's always up and down.
It's dying and rising. It's Good Friday. Like to get to Easter Sunday, you got to go through Good Friday. You can't expect results unless you're willing to die and to suffer a bit. That's how it goes. I was thinking, especially in learning a new language, if you really want to learn a new language and be free, you have to invest and immerse yourself in a culture. And that's painful and it's hard. But the same is true when it comes to film and when it comes to music and when it comes to our life of faith, that if we get too comfortable, that's always a problem for the Catholic Christian, because we are certainly made for comfort and there is time for joy and there is time for consolation, but we can't have the eternal springtime. Like you get to a point and it's like, I've got to continue to grow. So we're going to go through this cycle again, this dying and rising again. That happens. I'm sure it happens in marriage because I know it happens in priesthood.
Yeah. And with these remakes and sequels, I think it's almost like almost getting into the director, producers, like why are they doing it? Like, it's been great to rewatch Gilmore Girls over and over again with my daughter. It's led to good conversations and lessons and things. And with the How to Train Your Dragon movie, I watched the trailer and there's a producer's cut. And he's like, I want to make this a live action so that the audience can like fully immerse in it. And they went and built the whole city around it so that you can almost feel the human connection that Hiccup has with Toothless, the dragon that he trains, and just the story behind it. And like that's one where we will probably go see in the theater. But like the art is there, the beauty is there. I think there is something really to be gained from it. Yeah.
The film I talked about earlier, that Star is Born, the Lady Gaga sang that song about shallows, in the shallows and the shallows. And I think about the shallows and I think about Pope John Paul II, where he loved to quote, like, put out in the deep, ducem ultum. And there's some time in our life where you stay in what's comfortable in some shallow waters, but also like the real meaning of life and the real depth is out where the water is deep. And it's important to go there. So there are some times where you just want some comfort food or to watch this, but also to challenge yourself. And that comes in community, and that comes within the community of the family, with priest friends, and hopefully here with Catholic Pour Over, that we're affirming the good things that are going on, but also challenging ourselves and our listeners and viewers to say, how can I grow more deeply? And maybe what's a genre of film that I haven't watched? Have I ever watched a foreign film?
Yeah.
Or if I'm stuck on romantic comedies, are there dramas that I should see? Or if I'm snooty and have never seen Nacho Libre, which I get ridiculed for, I'm not looking at anyone offset. Don't do that. But maybe people need to see Nacho Libre and theologically reflect on that,
Maybe.
I don't know if the Vatican's put it out recently, but I know they do have like a top 10 or a top 100 films. And one we haven't mentioned, which should never be remade because it's perfect, is Shawshank Redemption. I just want to go on record for saying that. I think that came out when I was also a senior in high school or a freshman in college, but it's wonderful. We watched that with our Tolelege kids too.
Well, that makes me think of Braveheart.
Oh yeah, that came out at the same time.
Yeah.
Man.
But that, I had never watched that, and we watched both recently, and I'm better for it. It's good to watch.
I will confess that when I first saw that film, the last scene, spoiler alert, is Mel Gibson's character, William Wallace, is killed publicly, but he's disemboweled. So they actually have him laying on a table and they just take his guts out. They don't show it. So the first time I watched it, I didn't know what was going on. I just saw him like leaning, but that's actually what happened. And I think it was my friend Father Barry Gearing is like, dude, they tore his guts out in that film. They disemboweled him. That's what they did. I'm like, what? So sometimes, as you said too, it's important to watch a film a second time because maybe the first time you see it, you don't catch everything. I know when I review movies for Word on Fire or records, if it's a movie, I'll see it once and then I'll go back again with a notebook and I'll take notes. And so even when it comes to reviewing albums, to hear a song is one thing, but to print up the lyrics and listen and analyze it and pour over it is another thing. And hopefully this show has helped our viewers become more aware, more illuminated, and
I think help you discern, like, why am I going to watch this?
Yeah.
And if it's just for fun, good. But if it's maybe throw in some that you want to challenge yourself too.
Yeah. What good is coming from this human behavior?
Yeah.
That's always a good question to ask. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? So thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on Catholic Pour Over.